Hello, everyone. My name is Doug Hartzheim, and like many of you, myself and my wife Margot have been intrigued by what we could do to perhaps ease the burden for some of these folks up in the fire areas of Los Angeles County. So, in the last week, we've been involved with some folks up in Altadena through some of our old relationships with church leaders in that area. We've made some progress and drilled down into the fabric of the community and tracked down some that have lost their homes and have really been impacted by their stories and what they're currently going through. And of course, it's devastating to hear these stories. And as you can imagine, by everything you've seen on the television in the last week, the size of this catastrophe is beyond anything we've seen in recent memory. So the temptation, as I said in at least one of the letters that I sent out, is to do nothing, to sit on our hands because a drop of water in such a huge bucket seems like it doesn't do anything at all. But as we got into it and started talking to families that have lost their houses and left at the last minute, it's become clear that they are so grateful for whatever we could do for them. And we are grateful for many of you that are watching this that have already linked arms with us. And that's the beauty of these opportunities that come along every so often if we jump in and get involved. And so thank you so much for what you have done, for answering the call and doing what you can. And we have, you know, elderly single people that are donating funds to this and on a limited budget, but they are finding a way to say, hey, I want to at least do something. And what we're thinking of doing is, and what we have done is we've at first identified at least four families that in three out of the four are in the pastoral community. So pastors that have always lived on meager salaries and yet opened their homes and done a great job of investing in their communities that now have nowhere to go. They're living with friends and they're going to be moved around from house to house. There's, as you can imagine, an acute housing shortage. There's nowhere to go. There's no houses to rent. The hotels are full. And so people are staying with friends. So we've got a couple of ideas there that I'll just mention right now, and that is that we've located a couple of fifth wheel trailers, and now it's just a matter of finding a place to park them. And we've got at least one really nice fifth wheel camper that's like a 35 footer, a couple slide outs, and so we're working with the district superintendent up there of the Southwest Latin American district of the Church of the Nazarene, and he's trying to find a place to park these trailers. So that's one of the things we're doing. And then if we could give $500 a month, which is only $6,000 a year, but it's gas money, it's a few clothes, it's some groceries, it's something. And then all of these folks will have to get some assistance elsewhere through the state, through FEMA, through their churches, through their relatives. It's kind of an all hands on deck thing, and the sources of income for these folks will have to be from multiple sources. Altadena is a middle class, working class area, and it has very few wealthy people, but many middle class, and then many just getting started or at the poverty level. The Altadena Church, which burnt to the ground, had a wonderful food pantry that handed out food a couple days a week. And those people already came on Wednesday saying, hey, are we going to get food this Saturday? Are we able to get food? And the answer, of course, is, well, the church is burnt down, and no, we don't have anywhere to set up shop. So all those things are the new landscape that this church group is working on to solve these issues. But it'll be years before that community is reconstructed. And in the meantime, we can do nothing. Or what we're telling these first four families is $500 a month, $6,000 a year. And if we can do more, we'll do more. But we don't want to overpromise and under deliver. And we have many others that we could add to that. We could do 3 or 4 times that in a heartbeat because we're connected enough to know that who's lost their house. But we just can't do that right now. So, but anything that you can send us, it's great. If you're giving somewhere else, as long as you have a generous heart, you got our vote, and there's no guilt trip here whatsoever. We're just happy to give a report back. So what you're going to hear in this video is, you're going to hear from Pastor Jonathan Lewis, who at the age of 14 was saved out of a gang type environment by people that went to that church in his neighborhood, the church that he is now the pastor of, and that is now burnt to the ground. And we'll hear from Alice Wiley, who, who was sleeping and woke up by the smell of smoke, grabbed her flashlight, and couldn't see anything because of the light reflecting back through the smoke. And she got out, and the fire was all around her house, and she was very fortunate to get out with her life. And no clothes, no car burnt down, everything's gone. And Pastor Dwight Garcia and his wife Jenny, just wonderful people. Enjoyed talking with them so much. You'll hear their stories and how their house was always open arms. All the high school kids, that was the place they loved to come, and she just took care of them. Never said no to anybody. But now she says, when I think I want to grab something out of a cupboard, or I want to go upstairs and get something, of course there is no house anymore. It's gone. And so that reality was just sinking in. Their house burned down on Wednesday morning, and I interviewed them on Sunday. And then Pastor Moises Champo and his wife Annette, very similar story. Lucky to get out of there. Didn't get a good advance warning on the evacuation. Lost everything they have, and nowhere to go. And so we're hoping that these camping trailers for these two families, these two pastors, will find a place to park these things. But and then, Alice, like I said, she was doing the food ministry. The pastor asked her 8 years ago if she could consider helping out, and she ended up loving it so much that she's still doing it to this day. And the part she likes is not giving out the food so much, but just the people that come to get the food. She has great relationships with all of them. And so her story is just one of getting to know her neighbors, and she prays with them, and they come to see her, and you'll enjoy the stories that she tells. And then Richard and Ursula Walker, pillars of the church, just there to help the pastor. You'll get to hear their story. And one of the most special stories of this last week was the story of how they lost their son. And when I first met them on Thursday, I believe it was, they had mentioned that they had lost a son, but I just met them, so I couldn't really ask much about it. But on Sunday afternoon, as I was interviewing these others and they sat there, I said, Ursula, would you mind sharing with us the story of your son? And she said, I would absolutely like to share that with you. We've shared it before with others. And it's a story of heartache and lack of understanding and a challenge to someone's faith. And where do you go with that when your son is wrongly killed and you are angry about it? And they do such a great job of telling us how they processed that, how they became distanced themselves from the church world for a while, because they just had those questions of why would this happen to us and to our family, and yet how God reeled him in, and through his loving patience and goodness, he just was just never let go of them. And you're going to love that story. I told them, and I'm saying it to you now, if that's the only reason we happen to be down in California for this event, I believe it was for that reason, so we could share their story with others, and we could be challenged and advance our own faith through their experience. So that's all I got for now. We're looking forward to sharing all these stories with you, and then you'll see their interviews in their full entirety in these next several videos. God bless you, and thanks again for your help. This takes every one of us, and yes, you are making a difference. $20 makes a difference. $100 makes a difference. And some of you have given us considerably more than that. Thank you to each and every one of you. All for now.